Oh, right. Where's my pencil so I can even... You'd think somebody who actually writes would actually know where he's put all this stuff. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to have to mentally tick it off as having
This is
been done.
why. This is why I come prepared.
Well, I did come
Because
prepared, but
this is the one jar of pens. There is another one.
in between coming prepared, I appear to have somehow lost it despite sitting here for the last half hour. But terrible writing and one of my favourite forms of entertainment, which I know Mr. Arnold doesn't like, which is the grand sport of pro wrestling.
I can see the
Um,
appeal. I just bypassed me over the years.
yes. Well,
See, I only ever had Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks. I've never had. We never
Hmm.
got the WWE.
Well, there are some things that, like, for example, I know that John here has never experienced the joy of watching the Shockmaster's debut, but we can solve that with YouTube. There are some things that you can't solve with a quick YouTube video. So, um,
Is
this
that a
is my
threat or a promise?
so this is my attempt to explain terrible writing. Um, and we're starting with actually one of my favourite wrestlers, a man by the name of Curt Hennig, who used to wrestle with Mr. Perfect back in the day. Um, and in 1999, he was in World Championship Wrestling, who ran out of Georgia in America. But he was at the tail end of his career. And they decided the best thing to do to accentuate positive, he had a bad back, that they give him a big group of wrestlers that he could be the top guy for, and he could do most of the talking, and he could have multi-man matches, so they hide the fact that he couldn't, go on his own. So they decided that the best group to have him in would be called the West Texas Rednecks. Now, I just want to start by pointing out here that Curt Hennig, rest his soul, was from Minnesota, and you can't get much further from West Texas on the US map unless you go to Alaska.
I was going to say,
Uh,
you're going to have to go round the world and come back up again, aren't you?
um, so they thought they'd try this, and they set him up with Bobby Duncan Jr. and the Wyndham brothers. And they decided that these guys would be heels. That's villains, bad guys. And they set them having a feud with Rey Mysterio, who's a very popular Mexican wrestler, a group of rappers called the No Limit Soldiers, who I believe are a real rap group who were big in 1999, but that goes slightly beyond my knowledge of American rap in the 90s. Well, to sell this meeting of minds, they had Hennig and his group release a song called "Rap Is Crap." Um, they had him They had him push his anti-rap. Take He was a massive fan of country music and NASCAR. Um, Now, if you're following this, they're in Atlanta, Georgia. There's four of these guys. Their promotion is that they love country music and NASCAR, and they're fighting a group of what turned out to be 20 people who love rap. And the four of them are meant to be the bad guys.
Not in Atlanta with those interests.
Would you be surprised to know that in the south of America, they were getting cheered out the building instead?
I would not.
And that the because Hennig was one of these annoyingly talented people who, if he went into a sport, he'd do well at it. He'd go into wrestling, he'd be the best before his back went. So he's asked to put out a daft novelty record, and by God, it's going to be a catchy damn novelty record that goes into the actual charts in America. uh, Villains in name only were heroically trying to defend against the odds of every rap fan in WCW coming in against them to the point where it looked like the siege of the Vatican. um, Having accidentally turned them into the biggest heroes in the entire country, WCW axe the storyline after 3 weeks. Oh, but yes, and that's one of the least stupid things they did that year. But that's for another story.
There's an endless fountain of those.
Oh yes, look, there is a book called "The Death of WCW," which talks about the stupid things they did in the last 18 months of their existence, and it only covers a few stories.
And it's the length of the Encyclopedia Britannica.
It is the last few years when they went apeshit is just. I mean, one time a wrestler nearly got mauled by a tiger, and nobody remembers that. So much other stuff that happened.